Hello, hello, hello. Yes, you are watching the Tonight Show podcast with me, Charlie Tolhurst, and my co-host Zach Chambers tonight. On the 25th of May, we have moved it to a Thursday again this evening, due as I've got due to other commitments again. But yes, we have got a bumper of a new show for you tonight. Loads of talking points, a week in politics, and so much more. I'm joined by Labour Party supporter Zach Chambers around all latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, mate.
We got Zach finally there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Zach.
Okay.
Yeah. So welcome to the world of modern technology.
Let me change the mobile there.
So whilst my co-host Zach Chambers is getting sorting his technology out and that, I will update you with what's happening with the latest
news. There we go.
News.
I've changed the mobile there. It might be your end.
Yeah, it's one of our end. It's like the GB News launch night has finally hit our show once again. We're live on air now. Hope everyone's doing great. We're now going to talk about the biggest news from the week. I want to start off though by talking about a horrible loss the other day. Unfortunately, all of our thoughts are with Tina Turner right now. The music legend, rock and roll legend, unfortunately passed away yesterday at the age of 83. Very well known, of course, for her hit singles, Proud Mary, and of course, The Best. She was simply the best. That is all I can say. One of the most successful artists of her time. Honestly, going back to all of her records, she began her career in 1957, would you believe it? And yeah, literally released so many big hits all over her life. I mean, Zach, Tina Turner is going to be sorely missed by many in the music world.
Oh, certainly. I mean, the news yesterday was pretty devastating. Quite frankly, I mean, Tina Turner was an icon in worldwide music, not just here in UK, but in America as well. I mean, she was very popular in America. But yeah, her personal life, I think, was very inspired by her music. Anyways, with all the fact that she got out of an abusive relationship, and so saw that girl power always triumphed in the face of nasty, violent men. And her music took inspiration from that. I mean, what's love got to do with it? You're simply the best. I mean, she is simply the best, quite frankly. It reminded me today because I was at work today and I listened to we played her music at work, and wow, she had such a voice, such an inspiration, and she's an icon of her time. I mean, the fact that she's played in films, in movies, she made so many hit singles. It was astonishing, her rise to fame, quite frankly, and for good reasons. For her music, for her talent, for her performances. She sold out arenas and other areas as well. I mean, she was incredible. Simply, like I said, simply the best. We're going to hear that phrase so many times because she was that one. Of her era, of an icon, and she's done so much for the community, for so many things, made so much of a difference. She was an icon in her area, and she's going to be thoroughly missed in whatever form. She's a lovely human being. I'm glad she got out of her little relationship that got pretty bad. She survived that pretty much, and yeah, simply amazing and an awesome talent to go by. And honestly, listening to her, we're going back to her songs now, just after her death, it's just, yeah, it gives you good memories and good inspiration of what she was able to do as an artist and a musician. It was incredible. So yeah, rest in peace, Tina Turner. I mean, she's an incredible singer, an incredible talent, an incredible person who will be thoroughly missed. And may her memories be a blessing.
Yeah, what can I say to everyone watching this show tonight? I think many people in the singles world will remember her for being such a divine artist, such a beautiful limelight that she shone on the music world. And I have to say, without Tina Turner, many people are going to forget about just how great her music was. The fact that so many people have listened to her songs. As I said, Proud Mary, simply the best. Honestly, it is. They're two great songs. So please comment down below, guys, what you have to make of Tina Turner. Did you ever go watch her in concert as well? Because I know she probably done many concerts over her time. And as I'm sure you guys know, concerts are what made these artists famous. Live performances and stuff like that. Comment down below what you have to say. Now we're going to get into the serious talking points now. We're going to start off with the UK news now. Now, turmoil this week for the Tory party. We now know that Rishi Sunak is facing a lot of questions about Suella Braverman over a speeding claim. But we now also know that the former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is also involved in apparently yet more parties. So why did he set rules for us when he actually got involved in parties? It's a very interesting saga that is coming on. And we are seeing the Conservative Party being split down the wheel tracks on these issues. Zach, I have to say the last few days for the Conservative Party have been really rather rocky, haven't they?
Yeah, they have been rocky. And today has been no better, for example. I'm going to start out what happened on first with Suella Braverman. First of all, let's just explain what happened to her. Last summer, she got a speeding ticket. Many of the hundreds of motorists got speeding tickets, and unfortunately, the person that's in charge of the law and order in one part of law and order in this country has somehow floundered and ended up breaking it once again. Probably not surprising it's her out of all people, because that's typical Suella Braverman. I mean, to be fair, given what's going on as well. But yeah, she got a speeding fine. That wasn't the issue. What was the issue was the fact that she nearly used the civil servants in her own office to try and get a private speeding awareness course, not in front of anyone else, not with others, just herself and some other instructor. That was allegedly sort of a misuse of the civil service, from what the Times was reporting as well. And it might, I understand it caused a little bit of an uproar with some on the Conservative side and some of the mostly on the Labour side as well, unsurprisingly. Now, Rishi Sunak took several days to decide whether to refer this to an independent advisor. He decided not to, because the independent advisor said that there was nothing. Obviously, she wrote a big written apology saying that she could have explained it, done it a little bit differently, and that was it. No further action, Suella Braverman. I mean, 3 days waiting all for that. I mean, come on. Suella Braverman abusing the civil service is not the first time. I mean, she's done hot water before. She used private emails to get access to public government documents as well. She's a walking nightmare, that woman. Some would call her Cruella de Vil when there are any chances. I wouldn't go that far, but good grief. That was, quite frankly, a painful breach of trust by Suella Braverman once again, who, quite frankly, is probably the worst performing cabinet ministers in cabinet so far. Then we get to the next bit, and Boris Johnson. I mean, why are we even talking about him again? Because I get so bored talking about him, but the fact we have to talk about him because once again he has been a complete and utter yap. We had Partygate last year, and start before the year before that as well, where you found out all these lockdown parties. Sue Gray investigated them. The Privilege Committee is still investigating whether he misled Parliament. But it gets even better because, as part of the COVID inquiry, Boris Johnson, via his Cabinet Office lawyers, which taxpayers are still funding, has to hand over any relevant bits of diaries and documents to the COVID inquiry and to the Cabinet Office in that instance as well. The Cabinet Office was alarmed to find out that there were some very suspicious entries during the time of COVID lockdowns, at Downing Street and Chequers as well. Very suspicious, to the point where the Cabinet Office referred those entries to the police because they could have breached COVID regulations. Now, it's quite stunning that we're once again finding COVID-related breaches from Boris Johnson. But then again, how am I surprised at this point? Because he seems to be a serial breacher of rules and regulations, and one rule for him and one rule for everyone else. Just typical of him, quite frankly, as well. But it's not just that. The scale of these potential breaches is significant. The Cabinet Office has reportedly sent between 12 to 17 of these breaches to the and referred it to the police, the Metropolitan Police and sort of the Thames Police as well, sort of the area where Chequers is covered as well. But I think it's extraordinary that we could be potentially looking at even more parties that the public did not even know about at the time, despite all the Sue Gray stuff and the ones that got sent to Sue Gray. We are finding out yet more parties, more lockdown breaches as well by Boris Johnson. If honestly, the Privilege Committee investigation must be rubbing their hands with glee, and when they see this as well, given the fact that there's been more breaches, it strengthens their case, I think, in my view, that they could get, quite frankly, a better result their end, because the more Boris Johnson is found out on these breaches, the better the Privilege Committee case. And we have yapping Conservative backbenchers as well getting all upset because it's all a smear and a witch hunt, typical, and it's the civil service blob, according to them, that's causing all this, and that should be protecting sort of Boris Johnson. God almighty, I've heard it all, quite frankly. But nevertheless, once again, Boris Johnson caught with his pants down. I mean, not literally, but still, it literally as well, with potential COVID breaches. Now, these breaches have not been investigated quite yet by the police. They've been referred to, but it doesn't mean there's been an investigation starting quite yet. That doesn't mean a referral to the police doesn't mean there's been some breaches of rules yet. There's been a crime committed. That still has to be investigated. It could be that all 12 to 17 of those referrals there were no breaches in it. We don't know. But nevertheless, this is just another painstakingly embarrassing moment for the Prime Minister, who's dropped his COVID Cabinet Office appointing lawyers and appointing new ones to represent him in the COVID inquiry and other matters as well in the future. He is currently unrepresented, according to him, because he sacked the other lot as well. And even this team has threatened to sue the Cabinet Office for handing over these to the police as well, which, for a man that's so integral and everything like that, if you broke the rules, you wouldn't be suing the Cabinet Office for potential breach of the rules anyway. And to finish you off today, Charlie, we've had today the immigration figures from the ONS as well. 601,000 net migration. That's legal migration, not illegal migration, but 601,000. Nevertheless, Charlie, that is up from the previous figures of, I think it was 500,000 or something like that as well. It is a huge climb, and he's certainly got especially government supporters and government, Conservative MPs extremely worried, and a determination to bring down those that figure as well. I mean, it's a huge number. Whatever you look at it. I mean, yeah, you've had Hong Kong visas, you had Ukrainian refugees, Afghan refugees, and all that sort of thing that sort of wants to come in the country and everything like that as well. We've had more people on healthcare visas and all that sort of thing as well. This is a combination of pandemic shortages, labor shortages, all that sort of thing as well, that's causing this sort of problem. And it's for so many of them, the figure is far too high for the government in many ways as well, and the opposition even thinks it's a bit too many as well. So this is a big issue. This is going to be a big issue to voters on doorsteps and whatever as well. But it's a figure that the government does not want to see, and quite frankly, is going to worry their voters.
Yeah, not ideal. I mean, I read up the other day that they were planning more visas apparently, which I think were from Ukrainian refugees or something. So, yeah, more visas are going to be going out. More people will cross. Certainly, legal migration could go up to 75,000 this year. I don't know. It could be higher than that even. We don't even know the exact figures yet. I've checked online all week and trying to see how many of them cross the channel. It's a lot of people. Maybe if you're down in Dover, there is a little game where you can play called Spot the Migrants, where you actually go out and actually see if there are any dinghies crossing the channel as well. Maybe little kids can have a game of I Spy with my little eye, something in 10. That would be the interesting word there for sure. Comment down below, guys, what you make to the current state of UK politics right now. Moving on now to what I'm going to be talking about. Obviously, House of Commons is on recess next week, but we're going to go over some of the day's business in the Commons, the business schedules. Obviously, we got the recess next week, so Parliament will not be sitting. But I've managed to find this link here, which gives me all of what is expected to happen on the calendar, on what's on the Parliament UK website. Well, we're going to go over actually what we had today. That is the 5th of June, of course. That is next week. We'll come on to that very shortly, actually. But we're going to go back to the 25th of May, which is today. What did we have sitting in Parliament today? We had the oral questions at 9:30. We have the 10 a.m. oral questions by the Attorney General. Penny Mordaunt then done a business statement earlier on in the day, followed by backbench business, a debate on a motion of recognition of the Ukrainian Holodomor from Miss Paul Lowe from the Conservative Mid Derbyshire, Stuart Malcolm MacDonald of SNP Glasgow South. We had then backbench business as well. General debate on tackling Islamophobia was led by Naz Sarr of Labour, Bradford West, Sarah Britcliffe of Conservative Highburn. And we also had the adjournment of asylum seekers off the Wirral Peninsula of Nick Whiteley there doing that. And of course, at Westminster Hall today, we then had a debate around general debate, visa arrangements for inshore industry and fishing crews led by Jim Shannon, the DUP party for Strengthen. So what did you take away from today's business in the Commons?
So I also believe as well, if I remember rightly, that there was also an urgent question by Yvette Cooper on the migration figures as well, which obviously I don't think turned up on the Parliament page. But yes, Robert Jenrick applied on behalf of the government, not Suella Braverman. Probably make that what you will. Apparently called it the government. She was in internal meetings. So obviously hiding from the public in nevertheless. But yeah, I mean, it was the net migration figure was obviously debated in the Commons today as well. I mean, Labour have made the case for less immigration now, quite interestingly, which is probably more the public's opinion. I think they've also advocated as well, and I remember Yvette Cooper bringing this up as well, that the Labour wants to drop the sort of 20% sort of below threshold for sort of rates to allow immigrants to work in a business, like the salary for something like that as well, which is obviously matching it with UK workers. So the business can't be paying 20% less for workers for foreign workers compared to UK workers, which is some way could be good policy, which some would suspect as well. But yeah, that was brought up today on the urgent question. Robert Jenrick saying as well, interesting enough, Robert Jenrick made the comparison that if they made more safe routes available and opened all sort of more routes, then actually what you get is actually more immigration into this country, which I'm not sure whether it's true. Would that be accurate or not? But nevertheless, it's something that he brought up in the Commons today, and I have to say it surprised people from all the sides. Some of them calling Robert Jenrick out for it. I mean, the SNP, the usual, the Lib Dems, as well. But yeah, it was nevertheless as expected on the urgent questions today. We also had the backbench business on debate on motion on Ukraine and Holodomor. I didn't watch that, unfortunately. Nor did I get to the tackling Islamophobia, which is obviously still a big issue as well, of anti-Muslim hate and everything like that as well. And obviously the accommodation with asylum seekers for the Wirral Peninsula was the German debate as well. Inside today, obviously it's the final day before the Commons break up as well. So yeah, all the MPs will still be working, but they'll be back working their constituencies, and there'll be no PMQs next week or anything like that. It'll be back the following week, I believe, on the 7th of June.
5th of June,
as well.
yeah.
That's what. Yeah, the 5th of June is when I think Parliament returns. 7th of June is when the next Prime Minister's questions would be as well. So that's what we're probably going to expect. As well, there'll probably be a few issues passing by now and then as well. So yeah, it's been an eventful week for Action as well, especially with what's happened as well in PMQs. And the urgent question today as well. It's been another one of those busy weeks in Westminster, and I guess it's going to chill a little bit as we get to the Westminster break. But nevertheless, I expect there will be still some talking points and to be talked about as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. As I said as well, obviously the bill today being debated on migration, immigration as well. That's going to be certainly a big feature coming up over the next few weeks. And of course, questions around Partygate again returning. Moving on now to some more news now. I'm going to cover, there's so much to talk about. It's unreal. We're going to talk tonight about Just Stop Oil now, because I forgot to mention this the other week. Now, what about if Just Stop Oil attempt to dissuade MPs to sit a debate? Yes. Now, unfortunately, Just Stop Oil protesters have been out in full force once again, blocking roads. Doesn't it take Extinction Rebellion to say, "Oh, I'm going to stop blocking roads"? Oh, and then they go out and disrupt the Barclays conference. Well, it turns out that they went to the Chelsea Flower Show and more protesters were also arrested. Yes, we can safely say that. This was a picture of him here at the RHS Chelsea Flower Show, which is taking place this weekend. 3 Just Stop Oil activists have been arrested on suspicion of causing criminal damage at the Chelsea Flower Show. The protesters released orange powder on the paint show in the garden at around the Royal Chelsea Hospital, Chelsea, at 9 p.m. CDR Karen Finley from Met Police Operations said the gardens have been criminally damaged. Raw horticulture, as he said, spokesperson. The 3 protesters are all off the site now. The 3 women targeted a garden designed by Paul Harvey Brooks for the wealth manager RBC Dolphin. And Mr. Harvey Brooks said on social media that his show entry had been permanently damaged. Now, the week before, they also attempted to invade a sitting committee meeting of MPs as well. You might remember what they done. Just Stop Oil. It was a weird one, isn't it? Disrupting a committee. I don't know what to say. Are you going to disrupt MPs debating something? That would be my question. I mean, Zach, what did you make to Just Stop Oil's crazy tactics over the past couple of weeks, including today's crazy event?
If you talk about stopping debates, climate protesters have done that during First Minister's questions before, where they had to stop it 6 times before being able to restart again as well, and that forced a lot of change for First Minister's questions. But yeah, these pathetic idiots are back out again, doing what they do worst, and that's causing a disruption. We've seen some of the social media videos going around this week of especially Just Stop Oil protesters blocking roads as well. A driver, I think, got arrested, I believe, because they were trying to shove. They basically shoved the Just Stop Oil protester out in the middle of the road. And yeah, the police obviously didn't see all of it; they just saw part of it, and yeah, driver got arrested, or whoever was trying to get them out of the way, and everything like that as well. Yeah. And then we get to today, when they're disrupting the bloody Chelsea Flower Show. Why? I mean, the Chelsea Flower Show is supposed to be like environmentally pretty. You're growing flowers. Why ruin the bloody gardens? That's just so sad and so desperate. Like, to the point you're vandalizing gardens and all that sort of thing as well. These people have worked hard to make their gardens look how it is. They're not doing it because of the environment. They just want to look because they're doing a competition, for goodness sake. And then there's Just Stop Oil people ruining people's creations because they want to make a point about, climate change. Well, I'm really sure that, shoving oil or whatever, shoving paint over gardens and flowers, which is, supposed to reduce pollen levels and all that sort of thing, is really helpful in that cause. I mean, what the hell are they thinking? It's embarrassing. There's no cause for their case. It's embarrassing to watch, and it's pretty destructive and disgusting, quite frankly, that they go around even doing it to flowers and all that sort of thing as well. What are they thinking? What on earth go through their head? What a sad bunch of people. Just sad and pathetic that they would even try to disrupt the Chelsea Flower Show out of all things. I mean, yeah, disruption of Westminster Hall debate is pretty annoying with the loonies trying to, take over the hall and everything like that as well. But I'm not as annoyed as that, but I'm annoyed at the destruction of property and vandalism of beautiful flowers that are all on display, but are not ruined by these low-life, two-faced idiots that can do or anything better but make a fool of themselves just to make a point, which nobody's going to get on board with tactics like that. It is incredibly destructive. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly pathetic. And I'm getting sick and tired of seeing them, Charlie. It's annoying. I support the movement for better climate change policies, absolutely. But things like that, I cannot support whatsoever. It is damn well annoying, and it's just disruptive and disgusting.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. I mean, that guy who got arrested the other day, the guy who tried to drag him out the road. I mean, the thing is, you might have seen my comment I made on Twitter the other day about this, and I retweeted another comment about it. I just want to say, okay, these protesters, what are the police? Aren't the police meant to arrest the protesters? I mean, the public, like when the Insulate Britain blocked the M25, they were all like, the public were dragging them off the road. Now, I know that's illegal. I get that, but these people should be sitting in the middle of the road. They go and protest. If you want to go and protest outside. I don't know. Go and protest in front of your own politicians, or go and protest in front of Downing Street, wherever. Do it peacefully, not blocking roads. It's just horrible. It's disrupting the public's life. It's not great. Please comment down below, guys, what you make of Just Stop Oil, and let me know what you make of them, because it's not great. Now, before we move on and do the sport news now, and before we preview this weekend's football matches as well, and the Indy 500 grid, I just want to say quickly, there's been a lot of news over the last few days on this morning regarding the resignation of Philip Schofield, or the sacking of Philip Schofield from ITV's this morning. Now, ITV confirmed it last week. Philip Schofield wrote a statement out on Saturday that he quit the show after 22 years following multiple scandals. Obviously, his brother Timothy was jailed for 12 years after committing multiple sex offences with children, and it pretty much bit the nail on the head for Philip, unfortunately. And then there's been lots of scandals. He's called it in now, and he's finally left. Holly Willoughby obviously is having a break at the moment, so it's left this week. Dermot O'Leary and Alison Hammond to present the show. Obviously, Craig Doyle has fronted the last two episodes with Hammond, whilst Dermot O'Leary has celebrated his birthday. I mean, Zach, this change for this morning is certainly a huge one for the show's long-running format.
Yeah, I mean, obviously recently Philip Schofield finally pulled the plug on his time at this morning. I have to say, it came to be a bit of a surprise to me. I thought he was going to ride through it, settle on as usual, and not do anything else. But now the fact that he quit, it makes you wonder, or decided to part ways with ITV. It makes you wonder as well, why now? Was the rumours true this time that he fell out with Holly Willoughby and all that sort of thing? Was his contract up for renewal and they decided not to renew it? questions to be answered. I mean, not the first time Phil and Holly have been in the scandals. The last one, we remember that queue jumping scandal as well last year at the Queen's funeral procession. And there's been a few other dramas before, including Philip Schofield giving name of alleged Tory paedophiles and whatever that turned out to be not true as well. So, this is not the first scandal that Philip Schofield's got himself in. And it certainly wouldn't be the last, I have to say as well. But he's now quit this morning, rather surprisingly, after 22 years of being on the air and being in a long partnership with Holly Willoughby. Maybe it was Holly that's pulling the strings all along, who knows? But it's a dramatic change this morning. He was actually, to some, a well-liked presenter, but I do wonder whether there's just more to behind the scenes than going on than the fact that he's quit now. That we don't know about. We don't quite know. I mean, it mustn't be too bad considering the fact that ITV have got him going to host him the NTAs Awards. He's doing a new primetime series for ITV sometime soon in the future. So clearly not all is over with a relationship with ITV. It's clearly that they feel they have some sort of confidence in him to host. But I guess the NTAs are going to be a little bit awkward though, given the fact that he's a host of that. And I imagine this morning is up for nomination. Wonder if he this morning probably will win the nomination and get prize. And that'd be a difficult one to hand out. I mean, given the fact they probably have to fake Holly and Phil's good relationship on screen and everything like that as well. It's definitely not ideal from ITV's perspective of things. Maybe they're telling them that Holly can't just turn up and maybe just, get him to do pre-recorded messages or whatever. Very interesting to see. There might be a few interests in that. But I mean, it's a big move or whatever happened with Philip Schofield. I mean, he's obviously, his brother's been sent to prison recently for very hideous crimes of sexual assault and all that sort of thing as well. And plus the drama between Phil and Holly behind the scenes must have been the one that pulled it for him as well. So I mean, currently Craig has been Alison and Dermot presented the show. We've had Craig Doyle recently present it as well. Rishi Sunak was on this morning today actually. It was Alison Hammond and Craig Doyle presenting as well in the comfy chair, asking the questions. But it's a big change this morning now where they're going to have to find a permanent new presenter alongside Holly Willoughby. Now, Holly's taken a little bit extra longer break this time. She's on a 2-week break, and then we'll be back very soon as well afterwards. I think it's the 5th that she'll be back on as well, with presumably rotating co-hosts and whoever can gel with Holly Willoughby the most as well. But big changes at ITV in this morning with Philip Schofield gone. Not fully gone because he's still going to be hosting that primetime series in the NTAs in the future.
Well, this is what their former colleague, Eamon Holmes, had to say when he appeared on GB News, explaining that he thinks Holly Willoughby is just as false as Philip Schofield is. Have a listen to what Mr. Holmes had to say. This was him on the Great British Breakfast Show just the other day.
She was behind the
but is that stabbing him in the back?
Yes, she made her name on the back of him.
Yes, but if he does something that she doesn't want to be associated with, and she said either he goes or I go, is that stabbing someone's in the back, or is that saying, hang on, I have my own professional integrity and I don't want to be associated
if she has her own professional integrity, why isn't she coming out in public and saying, I have my own professional integrity, he has done something which will reflect badly on me, but she again is being as false as he is, and nobody is talking about the elephant in the room, and that's it. She says, I thank him, and I take this into account, for all his knowledge, his experience, and his humour, all the things that she didn't have when she came to the show. Right? Well, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So she used that, so I would call that stabbing in the back.
She was behind.
Well, that was...
Is that stabbing him in the back?
Well, that was a very fiery Eamon Holmes there. On this morning. Zach, what did you take away from that?
And I have to remember there may be some sort of credibility to what Eamon Holmes says. I mean, it's on GB News, so I give that a lot less credibility than what I normally would. But this is Eamon Holmes we're talking about, who used to be a colleague of Philip Schofield on this morning, because her and Ruth did Fridays this morning for quite a while. But yeah, I mean, in this instance, I think as well, Eamon, you know, clearly thinks something completely different to what we've seen at the moment. You know, I mean, is Hollywood really be just as fake? I mean, no. I think at the end of the day, I think she's been forced out to put a statement out just to look at it looks pretty as well, and sort of kind. When really behind the scenes, it's just a bit blash and a bit bad. So, is she just as fake? No, I don't think so. But I just feel like she's just done the PR job, really, of putting out leaving out a positive message, as well. So, yeah, I've whether Eamon's got credibility for saying what's been said, I don't know really. But nevertheless, it's interesting to hear what he's got to say in this instance.
That's all from this morning. We're now going to move on now and do the sport briefing because there is so much sports news to talk about. Now, I'm going to start off with the bumper action for the football because I know a lot of you guys have been wanting us to preview the final round of fixtures for the Premier League. There's so many fixtures taking place this weekend, along with a bumper weekend of motorsport. More on that in a minute. But here's the look at the Premier League fixtures. Obviously, there was one tonight. Manchester United beating Chelsea 4-1 at home. Manchester United look to be guaranteed certainly be guaranteed European football. And the other match, Brighton, 1-1 draw against Man City. Brighton, I believe, will also be European football as well. Now, matches over the weekend. There are going to be all 10 teams are in action on 4:30 on Sunday. Aston Villa, Brighton, Everton, Bournemouth, Leeds, Tottenham, Brentford, Man City, Man U, Fulham, Chelsea, Newcastle, Leicester, West Ham, Arsenal, Wolves, Southampton, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest are the final set of matches. Relegation will also be a big factor as well, with very close between the bottom of the table and the top of the table fighting for Europe as well. Zach, this weekend is certainly going to be a bumper edition of football if you are wanting to watch the Premier League this weekend.
Oh, it certainly is, Charlie. I mean, top four may have been decided tonight with Manchester United's win over Chelsea. Very significant win for them, given the fact they've got top four and Champions League football secured for next season. That means they're mathematically they cannot be taken out of the top four, and it's all over now. Well done to them. I think they've made some strides and inbounds under the new manager, Erik ten Hag. Definitely in the right direction, no doubt about it. And this season has proved it. We've had a few ups and downs, but I think, top four, well deserved by them. But going on to this weekend, there are 3 matches I want to talk about that are massive this weekend because they involve some form of relegation, some form of European football. Let me go to the first match. Everton v Bournemouth. All these 10 matches, by the way, they take place on Sunday at 4:30 as part of the last day showdown as well, which is a very traditional way of celebrating of the final day. That all 10 games take place at the same time as well on a Sunday. A very important, I think, fixture of a Premier League football weekend on the final day. But yeah. It's the first fixture I want to point out, Everton and Bournemouth. This is the first big fixture that will decide relegation or not. All Everton need to do to be able to guarantee getting out the bottom, staying out the bottom 3, is pretty much scoring and winning against Bournemouth. If they win against Bournemouth, that's it. Whatever happens at the rest of them. Well, that's it. Everton will be through with a simple win over Bournemouth as well. This is going to be crucial for whatever happens in the bottom 3. Now, if they draw, then they're in trouble. I think they're in trouble because their goal difference will determine whether they would get through or not. And if they lose, then they're in serious trouble as well. Then you've got the others to lose as well. But Everton need a win to be able to get out, to be able to guarantee themselves Premier League football next season. That's all they need to do. They need to win against Bournemouth to get through, and then whatever happens with the others, it won't matter because they'll be through and they'll take the 18th spot and safety for the Premier League this season as well. Now, the other big match I want to talk about, Leeds and Tottenham. There are implications on this from both ends of the table as well. Let's talk about Leeds first. They have to win the match and Everton to screw up if they got any chance of getting out of the bottom three. Now, what will also be determined as well is what happens at the third game as well, which I'm going to talk about, Leicester and West Ham. I have to say it's not joyful for me to be a to be a Leicester City fan as well. It's going to be agony. But I'm looking at the goal difference. Leicester on -18, Everton on 24 as well. And then I think Leeds are on 27. So all Leicester need to do is win, and then they're through, making sure. And if Everton screw up as well, or draw, then Leicester would go above and save themselves based on a draw with Everton, a draw in the Everton game, or as well, depending on the goal difference as well. I mean, Leicester would be safe, but they must win against West Ham to have any chance of going through and guarantee themselves Premier League football next season, and to make sure that Everton lose and Leeds lose as well. Leeds on Spurs of Tottenham's end of Leeds as well. Tottenham must win this match to be able to guarantee themselves some form of European football next season. Because if the likes of Villa and Brighton Brighton do better as well, and Brentford and potentially a few others as well, then Spurs are in trouble with European football. They could well be not even playing European football next season, depending on what happens at Aston Villa. As well, they've got to determine what happens at Villa as well. And Brighton. That's another crucial match as well. Depending on the results there, then Tottenham must win to be able to score some form of European football next season as well. There's other matches, like we said as well, this weekend. I mean, like Brentford, Man City, that's a bit of a dead rubber, really, to be fair. Man United, Fulham, that's also dead rubber now, really. That also could determine how the results go in terms of Spurs getting European football next season. Chelsea, Newcastle, dead rubber as well, pretty much. We've gone through that. Arsenal, Wolves are now dead rubber. Arsenal lost the title last weekend thanks to them losing to Nottingham Forest. Southampton, Liverpool also dead rubber now after tonight's results. Liverpool were guaranteed European football in Europa League, and Palace and Nottingham Forest another dead rubber as well, happening at 4:30. So there's a few matches with some meanings on the line, but again, it's all about the relegation and seeing which teams get relegated on Sunday ahead, Charlie.
Be plenty of that football news coming up in the next few days, and stay tuned for all the results as they come in. Now it's time to talk all about the grid now for the Indianapolis 500 taking place on Sunday. Also along with the Monaco Grand Prix, the first Formula One race back since the floods of Imola last week. Just want to say to all about people out in Italy, I hope you're all still doing well at the moment. But yes, the Indianapolis 500 has had qualifying. We had the Fast Six last weekend, and I can confirm to you the grid for the 2023 edition. Last year's winner, of course, was Marcus Ericsson, who won the race last year. And we have the first set of grid here taking place. Now, in first place was Alex Palou, who set a very fast lap on 2:34.217. We then have Rinus VeeKay in second, very nearly going very fast on his final run, just missing out there on his 4-lap average to finish second. Qualify second. Felix Rosenqvist finished third. Santino Ferrucci with a good showing in fourth. Pato O'Ward fifth. Scott Dixon is sixth. So that will be, I believe, first couple of rows. And we've got Alexander Rossi, Takuma Sato, eighth. Tony Kanaan, ninth. Marcus Ericsson there, rounding up the top 10. And 11th to 20th will be Benjamin Pedersen, Will Power, Ed Carpenter, Scott McLaughlin, Carl Kirkwood, Connor Daly, Joseph Newgarden, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Romain Grosjean, and Helio Castroneves. Zach, what did you take away from the Indianapolis 500 qualifying?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on Alex Palou. With a stunning lap, I have to say. They were 2:34.217, 6/1000th faster than Rinus VeeKay. who put in a really good lap as well, but just missed out by the slimmest of margins as well. Felix Rosenqvist third. I mean, he was the last car out on track as well. I mean, did a good job. 2:34.1. Still decent speed. 2:30, and then behind them a little bit further, Stino Ferrucci, very good qualifying for him, by the way. So 2:33.661. Pato Ward as well, fifth. Scott Dixon sixth. I mean, Scott Dixon, I think it was last year's pole sitter, but just didn't have enough power to make it through that one. And outside the fast six was Alexander Rossi, 2:33.1. Another 2:33.1. Tumasato eighth. Tony Kanaan ninth, which is his final Indy 500, by the way. Around this year, this is his last one. Marcus Ericsson 10th. Benjamin Pedersen as well. He's doing incredible qualifying for him as a rookie. 2:33.2.671, and then it's Will Power afterwards, and then A Carpenter in 13th as well. 14th is Scott McLaughlin, 15th Carl Kirkwood, Connor Daly 16th, Joey Newgarden 17th, Ryan Hunter-Reay 18th, Roman Grosjean 19th, Hello Castaneris as well. Roman Grosjean, I think, was a little bit disappointed given the fact they were promising a little bit of speed in there as well. Colton Herta 21st, Simon Pagenaud 22nd, Devin Lucas 23rd, Devin D. Francesco Marco Andretti 24th, Devin D. Francesco 25th, Augustin Camprio 26th, Cam Lyle 27th, RC Ensign 28th, Catherine Legg, who got involved in a crash on the Monday's car practice. She got involved in a crash. It was with Graham Rahal as well. 2:33.1. Christian Lundgaard 30th is 2:29. 6:49. Stingray Robb as well, and then Jack Harvey and Graham Rahal. Now, Graham Rahal originally was knocked out in the qualifying as well, in the last chance qualifier, so he was set to miss the race. And then Stefan Wilson crashed into Catherine Legg on Monday. Stefan Wilson has had it. I think it's some sort of surgery on, I think it's on his rib or hips or something like that as well. Now, unfortunately, so won't be able to take part. So it's Graham Rahal, who missed out thanks to last chance qualifier, managed to get a lucky last chance to take part in the Indy 500 this weekend as well. I mean, just a coincidence for him. That was very lucky. He got to be able to take part. But yeah, Stefan Wilson, very sorry to obviously hear he got injured in that crash on Monday. I mean, very unlucky. Just got punted off as well. And yeah, I just think it was Catherine, Herders just didn't needed to do that. I think, quite frankly, didn't see her looking at where she was going. And a result from Stefan Wilson not being able to take part in the Indy 500 on Sunday. Shame for him. Can I give a credit to Jack Harvey, who put in a belter of a performance the last chance qualifier as well? Just catching up with that. A stunning last lap. He managed to go out with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go on the clock in last chance qualifier and managed to set that key final lap that normally that knocked out Graham Rahal originally as well. Fair play to Jack Harvey. It was an incredible lap. But yeah, Graham Rahal, I guess, just got lucky as well. I mean, yeah, as well as that, Charlie, we've got the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend, as you said, as well. One of the biggest spectacles on the F1 calendar in terms of glamour and glitter across the tight street tracks of Monaco. 78 laps as well. And it may be raining this weekend, potentially on the Sunday. Don't think it'll be bad as one in Italy, but still could be rain. Would it be another weekend of Red Bull dominance, or will it be another team that's coming through the pack this weekend? Who knows? And then in NASCAR as well, we've got it's another big triple headers as well. In terms of motorsport, it's the Coca-Cola 600 this weekend as well. Qualifying is, I believe, on Saturday night at 7 o'clock for that one. So I'll obviously want to tell you about that as well. But it's a big weekend of motorsport this weekend. It's part of the Triple Crown as well. Two of the events as well, the Indy 500 and the Monaco Grand Prix. Le Mans is later this in the year, I think in June. So yeah, big weekend of motorsport. It's one of the most glamorous weekends of the season. And it all begins with Monaco Grand Prix and then the Indy 500 after that as well, which I believe is going to start around 5:30 UK time as well. The Grand Prix or the Monaco Grand Prix is at 2 p.m. UK time as well. So obviously look out for that to this weekend, but it's a big weekend ahead.
Yeah, as well, and with the NASCAR as well, I just want to say, obviously, last year's winner, I think, was Kyle Larson in that race. Obviously, they did, I think, race last weekend at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. I haven't watched the race, unfortunately, but I can give you the winner of obviously, that was a non-championship event. It was actually Larson that won the event as well. So all we can say is that's the NASCAR action there. And, of course, the Indianapolis 500, big event. I'm certainly, hopefully, if it's on YouTube, I'll tune in and watch it a bit as well. And obviously the Formula One. If it rains, will it be like 1996? 3 drivers only were classified that day. It was only the fewest ever F1 finishers. Olivier Panis winning the race. Funnily enough, his son actually races in the, I think the European GT series, if I remember correctly. Obviously, Olivier Panis is a former racing driver. His son is actually Aurelien Panis as well. So, yeah, Olivier Panis.
Olivier Panis, yeah.
One of those drivers that has a son. Many drivers have sons and daughters and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's all the sports news now. Conversation Street comes up now. Now, I'm going to talk this week on Conversation Street about something important. Now, I thought I'll bring this in with Conversation Street this week. We are going to be talking all about something that has been on my mind for quite a long time. Now, last week we spoke about mobile phones, drivers using mobile phones on the road. I'm going to talk this week about potholes. Now, a few of you guys have been raising questions about potholes in Basildon, saying the road services are becoming bad. Whitmore Way, one of the roads, has been having lots of potholes, and we need to do work to complete it. Now, the UK needs to understand potholes are actually a very serious issue. Now, obviously, if you drive over a pothole, it can kill your tyre. Now, I just want to mention this because the Daily Mail have actually released an article yesterday proving to you exactly why potholes are actually dangerous. Because breakdowns caused by Britain's pothole plague have soared by a third as AA crews have attended more than 1,700 incidents a day. Now, the AA helped 52,000 motorists whose vehicles were damaged by potholes. The breakdown service held up 52,000 motorists last year, damaged by potholes in April. 29% of them same up for last year. In the latest statistics, suggest 2023 could be one of the worst years for potholes since 2017, when the AA began recording breakdowns caused by largely poorly maintained roads. Data for the first 4 months, again this year, showed potholes were already causing more problems in the UK as they were last year. For instance, the quarter for the same period, and ensures breakdown services urging the public to report any potholes they ensure and be also made aware of them. It also covers as well stuff like potholes on motorways, on dual carriageways, the A13. I've got a couple of horrible ones on there. You want to make sure you be careful driving through there, because if you get a puncture and you drive over a pothole, especially if you've got big wheels, like, I don't know, you drive a massive old Range Rover with like 20-inch alloys or something, or you drive, I don't know, maybe a small Mini that's got 16 inches. You kind of like, what car's going to have the smaller wheels? The bigger wheels kind of help you, but smaller wheels can put you more at risk. Now, Zach, what do you make to this current research suggesting that breakdowns in Britain are soaring due to potholes causing major problems for motorists?
Do you know what, Charlie? I'm not surprised, quite frankly. I mean, I've been driving for quite a little bit while now, and it's awful. The state of the roads are really bad, especially when you're behind the wheel. Like in a big vehicle, it won't feel as bad because you've got big tyres that can sustain, like, you know, these sort of like holes in the road because they've got big tires. They're like they can be used off road. They can go over anything really, and they wouldn't cause too much harm for it. But like me as a VW Up driver, they are awful. They are genuinely really bad. I mean, like especially in the Basildon area, like you said as well. I've been through like Pitsea as well at times, and through Basildon, and there's just pothole after pothole after pothole, to the point where you have to swerve over to other lanes just to avoid the potholes. It is so bad and so dangerous that I just wonder, when's my tyre going to explode next? When's my tyre going to be? It is genuinely that roads are awful. They're bad. They're dangerous. They're horrible. They're scary to drive on at times because there's so many holes that you don't see. You can't see as well. And it just makes the driving experience more or less quite bad. And like you said, especially in my area as well, where there's beginning to, some of the holes have been fixed, but some of them as well, it's still growing. If there's just pothole after pothole after pothole, I can't even, like, you know, it's one day, I just feeling one of these days I'm going to go over one and it's going to bust my car up. I don't want that to happen because, like, you know, my car's pretty good. These potholes are ruining it. It's I can't. It's really bad, and something needs to be done to fund it, to stop the rising potholes as well. There needs to be more action quickly, because they just leave it, the local authorities and councils, and someone's going to get killed one day for them. Someone is, and those figures just show how much accidents as well they've done on them. It's really bad, and quite frankly, something's got to be done as soon as possible.
I mean, round here we have a lot of problems in Basildon, especially where I live. There's you see cars driving over these potholes every day, and obviously, like as I said, for example, okay, I'm going to use this as an example here. Imagine you're driving around in, I don't know, say a 1958, 1959 Mini, for example, one of the original built Minis here in the UK. Say you drove one of the original Minis over a pothole at 20 miles an hour. Probably not so bad. If you drove over one at 50 or 60 miles an hour and you've got very small wheels, you're probably in trouble. That would be my advice. The higher the speed, the greater the chance of a tyre going. These potholes can be unnoticed, especially on faster roads. You see drivers hitting them at higher speeds. Lower speeds tends to be a lot less severe, but higher speeds, I've seen people with their tyres gone, tyres burst. And as Zach, you said there, swerving over to other lanes to try and avoid them puts other motorists at risk of potentially crashing. I mean, I don't want to be seeing people being killed on the roads. Like, you might think smart motorways are not helping as well, but that would be saved for another conversation. But I just feel like that if people are going to start doing that, that creates a hazard to anybody on the road.
Yeah, roads should be drivable. They shouldn't have all these. They should be resurfaced the most, but they also shouldn't be having little holes that damage tyres, damage vehicles, cause breakdowns, cause disruption to the roads. And it's bad around the area. It really is bad. It makes a horrible experience as well, especially driving through Pitsea like the 132, where it's just pothole every single part of the road. Like, you have to literally go over one. You can't avoid them. It's just frustrating, and it's just so annoying. I'm surprised my tires are resilient as they are, because I've gone over so many and so many bumps on the road that it's just they are incredibly baffling, and something needs to be done with them as soon as possible.
Yeah, all I can say to the Basildon Council is maybe look at improving your roads around here, because something clearly isn't right. I've had so many local if you visit the local newspaper, guys, obviously you've got the Echo, Yellow Advertiser, all these local newspapers. You can actually go and view comments of what people have had to make on these roads, especially Whitmore Way. I've read up the other day. Residents complaining of how bad the roads are. It is not great. People have got to drive over these roads, obviously, to get their kids to school. Everyone commutes, obviously, to go to work. it's just not ideal. Please comment down below, guys, what you have to make of the situation with our roads. Do we need to fix our roads up in the UK? Please comment down below with that. Now, you're watching the Tonight Show podcast with me, Charlie. Of course, now we are going to go straight and do press preview. Now, we're going to talk about the latest newspaper headlines because we have got loads of papers coming out now. I'd also like to declare as well, if there's any news from the United States, it has been announced Ron DeSantis apparently is now launching his presidential bid for the Republican nominee. So if we do cover that, that will be all in the news for you. But let's go over the latest news. The Metro told, Eunice told to get out of our migration business. Ministers warning as visas for foreign students and families double. The Daily Mail goes with the Just Stop Oil headline. Will anyone stop these eco clowns? That was the headline there from the Daily Mail. Revealed on The Guardian, Braverman plans to deport 3,000 asylum seekers each month. The Daily Telegraph goes, mortgage rates shoot up amid bond chaos. Borrowing costs reach levels not seen since the Trust mini budget in a blow to homeowners. And the World Health Organization powers could be imposed by the World. I'm not going into that. Future pandemics. Okay. The Eye Weekend goes, UK population set to overtake France first time. Daily Express goes, Rishi, I'll get it. You want migration down. The Daily Star goes for the invasion of jellyfish. Very comical headline there as well. That's probably referencing to an interesting trend at the moment. Maybe warm weather on the way soon. Financial Times goes, ministers looking at reshaping pensions, lifeboat fund to give a boost businesses, shake up savers safety net and more active roles stuck on plans. Also goals to unlock billions for investment. Zach, what do you make to the latest newspaper headlines?
Yeah, quite a bit out at the moment, as you probably understand. Let's start off with the Metro first of all. Eunice told get out of migration business. Ministers warning as visas for foreign students' families double. Yeah, this is obviously news today that that the Home Secretary is putting more stricter rules on bringing for foreign students, bringing over families to the UK as well. Robert Jenrick has actually tapped universities, accusing them of being in the immigration business on the day that shows the highest ever net migration in the UK. Now, obviously, those from what the package announced here is that the students who are uni and obviously migrate to become a UK uni student will not be able to have limitations to bring over families over in the future, which is one of the ways I think is to sort of get net migration down in sort of medium term. I've seen a bit mixed reviews on this. That most of them say it's actually a good idea, to be fair, as well. Which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, quite frankly. I guess if you miss your family that much, then maybe not go to uni. But at the same time, as well, I also think that families should be able to at least be near their talented ones as well. So I'm a bit mixed on that. I don't really know, to be fair. And then this is the Daily Mail, obviously running with the Just Stop Oil. Just Stop Oil throwing orange powder over award-winning sustainable garden at Chelsea Flower Show. And then there's Animal Rising drag frightened lambs away from their mothers on King Sanjin's estate. Seriously, you bunch of saddos. Will anyone stop these eco clowns? Eco fanatics caused outrage yesterday by kidnapping 3 lambs from a royal farm and attacking the Chelsea Flower Show. I mean, they're idiots, quite frankly. These people do not deserve the recognition to do. The Animal Rising is just, why would you steal lambs from the king's estate as well? It's just, get off. And where's the security from it as well? Where is the security? Well, I can't see anything there. Can you see any security in that? No, I can't. Well, you think the king's guards would be protecting it, but no in action on that one, unfortunately. And as for Just Stop Oil, well, they look as pathetic as ever, quite frankly. And the fact they ruined the garden as well. Sustainable, environmental. They're so self-contradictory, hypocrites, and I could go on with them all day, but I can't be asked to as well. Guardian reveals Braverman plan to deport 3,000 asylum seekers each month. More than 3,000 asylum seekers could be detained and deported from the UK every month to enforce Braverman's asylum bill, leaked documents show. Well, what if they're genuine asylum seekers, that come over here to the UK and have genuine issues, and they're going to get deported? Wow. That's just nice. What if they're Ukrainians? What if they're ones that contribute to our country and everything like that as well? What if they're fleeing war and persecution? And there's no heart sometimes. I get it's illegal immigration's high and they want to take it down. I'm sympathetic to that, but deporting asylum seekers who want to flee and feel like the UK is the best place to do it, I'm not. I think it's just too cruel. As well, the Daily Telegraph go from mortgage rate shoots up amid bond chaos. Inflation did come down this week. 8.7% is now the new inflation figure. That's down. Very good. It's into single figures, and they were expecting a bit of a drop. It was at 10.1%. It's now 8.7. The expectation of it will go to 8.3. So it's still up above the average, which could worry a little bit marketeers. But especially the bonders as well, and the Bank of England, it look like they're going to probably have to raise interest rates further now to get that down even more. Probably over 5% potentially the interest rates as well, which is big amount. Especially like you said, the Telegraph goes for talk about mortgages and everything like that. Borrowing costs reached levels not seen since trust midbars in blown to homeowners as well. And I'm not surprised, quite frankly. The interest rates will keep going up, and then we expect the cost of mortgages for people on homeowners and first-time buyers will keep going up. And I really feel sorry for these people because it's just so bad to trying to find a home these days, and they've been left behind with this mess that they've been left with as well. Just formal papers to do. The Eye goes for UK population is to overtake France for the first time on record. Britain's on course to become Europe's second largest population, third time record. Net migration new high 606, driven by students and their families, people fleeing Ukraine and Hong Kong, and high skilled workers from outside the EU. UK has 67 million inhabitants, France 67.7, and Germany 83, most recent official figures. So we could well be overtaking France soon in terms of population, and we're a smaller country than France. So make that what you will. I mean, it's quite stunning, really. We have more people. We're just as much people as France potentially, and we don't have the home for it. And yet, when we do build the homes, it's all NIMBYism and. It all gets opposed on your back door yard and everything like that. So when the politicians complain there's not enough housing for these, these people, and yet they oppose when it comes to their housing or their own development, they oppose it. So, yeah, it's all sides, by the way. All sides do this, and I find it so hypocritical. And young people struggle to even get on the market, and this is why, because immigration's high, housing's not being built enough anywhere as well. We're a smaller country than France in terms of size, and yet we got just because of population. There's some big problems. I think it's getting a bit overcrowded in the UK. I have to say, as much as sympathise, I want refugees to come over here. By the way, I don't want them deported, but there is an issue. We need to build more houses, quite simply, and they need to be affordable houses as well. Because paying £300,000 just for a house is just unbearable for so many young people. People don't even earn that money. So yeah, not great in that department. Rishi, Daily Express, I get it, you want migration down. Rishi Sunak has been speaking to the Daily Express, has declared we must and will cut the number of people moving to the UK. Net migration is 606. PM said it was too high and must not be allowed to spiral further. About 1.2 million migrants arrived in Britain last year as well. It's just, like I said, it's a stunning amount for what it's worth. as well. A record number of immigrants, record number of legal and illegal migration, as well. I mean, it's just incredible. What's we're filling up fast, and the Brits don't want the jobs that we know so we need in the industry. So we have to get all foreign labour coming in to help us out. I mean, yeah, it's not good on that start. The Daily Star goes for a curious headline.
I'm just going to say, Zach, before we move on to the Daily Star, I just want to report on a story that a man has been arrested as a car crashes into Downing Street gates.
Yeah, quite a serious development, actually. So, yeah, we don't know what the motive is of this. No, it does not appear to be terror-related, thankfully, but it's still left pretty alarming story to see someone crashing into the gates of Downing Street and that being put on lockdown, as well, with the PM having to be evacuated from the area and moved somewhere else. Yeah, not a good sight to see someone being arrested, but it didn't necessarily look terrorist motivated, I think, as well. I think it was just some stupid driving, quite frankly. Nothing deliberately hit the barrier in many parts as well. But yeah, it's alarming nevertheless to see that sort of thing happen as well. So yeah, there was a pretty bad development today, but thankfully it appears to be as bad as we've seen as well. But let's go to the Daily Star, which goes for invasion of the monster jellyfish. And I thought that was swarms of giant jellyfish are heading to our way thanks to warning seas just to ruin the half-term holidays. I thought that looked like a unicorn then for win it, but yeah, I thankfully I'm not going anywhere near the sea for the half term. I'll be indoors studying, doing more exam practices. Just when he thought it was safe to go back in the water. Well, yeah, no, don't go near the sea if you want to be stung by jellyfish, as well, or unicorns. Quite whatever you want to do, try and avoid those pesky things because they're not nice. They're not very nice at all, and they're not going to give you good things whatsoever. Financial Times. This is the last paper as well. Ministers looking at reshaping pension lifeboat fund to give boost to business. Shake up to save the safety net. More active role in taking plans. Global a lot billions for investment. As well. Yeah, I mean, to be fair on that one, I think ministers looking at reshaping pensions lifeboat fund to give boost to business. Anything that helps boost businesses would be very welcome. If the government wants to stress investment strategy, we have to change the PPF rules, potentially, which could break European Union agreements and all that sort of thing as well. But we'll get there when it needs to be as well. But for businesses, this is really important, and it would be good investment for them as well. But yeah, that is the papers for tomorrow, which is the 26th of May as well.
Yeah, now just before we go, I did mention about one news story that has broke today, which is Ron DeSantis announcing that he will be running for the Republican nomination. This is what he had to say during a campaign video.
Our border is a disaster. Crime infests our cities. The federal government makes it harder for families to make ends meet, and the president flounders. But decline is a choice. Success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination, law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to lead and the strength to win. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
Thank you there. That was Ron DeSantis releasing his campaign video there, running for president, running obviously as the presidential nominee for the Republican Party, even though he's got tough competition from Donald Trump. in the same party in Joe Biden, the Democrats. So, what did you take away from his campaign video before we wrap up the show?
Well, the campaign video was, I must admit, the soundtrack was pretty good as well. But the launch of it, where he tried to launch his campaign on social media via Elon Musk, wasn't quite as smooth sailing, shall we say. Elon Musk decided to do a Spaces stream with him. It took several efforts to get him into the thing. Thing kept cutting out, go back in again, cutting out. Terrible start for Ron DeSantis, I have to say, in terms of campaigning there. But yeah, he released a video on social media. He is now in the presidential race as well. He's probably the best possible challenger to Donald Trump, although it still looks unlikely because Trump is way ahead in the opinion polls at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if it stays that way as well. I mean, he'd probably like to be the nominee, but unless something really bad happens, that screws him up. But I can't see anything at the moment that will screw it up. But yeah, Ron DeSantis is the second best challenger, I think, as well, and he's obviously trying to bring the Florida to the whole of the United States, really, as well. Some key messages on there, but I don't think Ron DeSantis is going to do it, quite frankly. I mean, he had his chance a while ago, and then he's blew it.
Well, that's all we can say. Will Ron DeSantis be the challenger to Donald Trump? I mean, there'll be a lot of Republicans scratching their heads right now who to vote for. Or will they be running mates? That's a question. I don't know. I think DeSantis is the Florida governor. I mean, it will be an interesting decision, but we'll see how we get on with that. But that's all from the Tonight Show podcast for the 25th of May, the final one of the month. The final one month. Yeah, we've got a bank holiday weekend coming up. It is going to be very, very interesting, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy the bank holiday weekend in May. It's been a great show for you all. And yeah, we will see you again next time for another edition of the Tonight Show podcast where me, Charlie, and my co-host Zach will preview and react to all the latest news as it comes in. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take care and good night.